Hey, welcome to Here's Out. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and we're going to be talking about Borderlands, the movie. Don't know what it's about. It's going to be weird. Well, we do know it's a game. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Borderlands, which is the movie, which is, it's going to be compared probably to Guardians of the Galaxy, another group of mischiefs, going around the galaxy. And yeah, we're going to try compare them and see what it needs to do to.
Yeah, it's brightly colored ragtag group of people, Paul. It is just made to look, and I don't get me wrong, I know it's from a game, but it does definitely have some crossover with Guardians of the Galaxy. You are not wrong.
No, shape, tone, kind of like groupings. Yeah, it's going to be weird. Just to also chat, 80% of you are not subscribed. Give us a subscribe. Go on, give us one. You
I'll
know
wear the
you
hat.
want to.
I'll wear the I will do the whole episode with the hat on. Get that subscribe on, please.
So yeah, Borderlands came out of nowhere. Didn't really come out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere 9 years ago. I guess is probably the biggest kind of thingamabob here.
Well, yeah, Paul, listen, cards on the table. I have not played Borderlands games. You have, so you have me at a massive disadvantage here. But can I ask, when the trailers and the like for the Borderlands movie came out, were you excited to go see it? Because I wasn't.
I was like, what the hell? Why? I was like, no one asked for this, as far as I was aware. So,
That's a bit of a damning statement. No one asked for this.
like, yeah, like out of the group of like, which goes, I guess, movies that you could have chosen. Why is it that this specific movie of a ragtag group of like vault hunters, um, which is being made into a movie? Like, it definitely feels out of place a bit. Um,
Hmm.
it so it feels out of place, mostly because we already had a very successful group of gaming movies. We also had a very successful group of movies of a band of I guess cute,
Misfit group.
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So yeah, it just feels a little bit out of place to kind of like come with this game slash Guardians kind of like, and I'm a fan of the game. The game has a very, is a good place in my library. So
Does it
like,
have a good story? Is like, just because you're the one with the game knowledge, is it one of those things that you played it and thought this would make a good movie?
no, it never. It's like, I no, that's unfair. It never came into my head that this should be made into a movie, and I think that's the damning kind of more comment on that fact. Like, I played the game, really enjoyed it. The storylines are it's more kind of the world and the characters and stuff like that. Storylines can be very loosely put together. It is a first person shooter RPG kind of mix. So like, but yeah, it never jumped into my head that this should be this is the game. This is the game. BioShock
Yeah.
was announced like after BioShock 2, and I was like, that will be a great movie slash TV show. Borderlands never came in. Yes, I said Borderlands never came into my head about it.
And a game that is in my head along with this, and in some people's, the non-gamers mostly, Fallout had its recent success as an Amazon show. Very different, different situation, different game, but we've had, like you say, there have been more successes with video game properties. The Last of Us, Mario made money. All sorts of video game properties are starting to be being done well.
Yeah,
So usually, the idea that it's anything to do with a video game for me wouldn't be something that puts me off at all. I think when I watched the trailers, I was like, wow, that's super colorful. They're going for, I don't know, like 70s disco colorful vibe in some places. It's quite psychedelic. But then the casting confused me, and I'm like, wow, Kate Blanchett's amazing. I don't know how she'll work in that story with somebody like Kevin Hart, and that says more about Kevin Hart than Kate Blanchett. Um, but I was like, yeah, I don't. I just get this overwhelming. I don't understand. But when you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy to me, I was like, I think I might understand, because you're right. There has been a success, and Guardians has been a great success in on every level, monetarily and I think artistically. to be able to say, we can do this space-based adventure heisty group of, they're not all heroes, or they're not heroes all the time is maybe the right way to put it. You can pull that off now. It's been proven. Somebody's done it, and somebody did it quite colorfully, and somebody did it quite colorfully with music. I'm assuming Borderlands is going to play a part in, or music is going to play a part in Borderlands, and if it doesn't, they've missed a trick.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a weird. So yeah, we're gonna compare. We're gonna compare a couple of things just with Borderlands. So right now, I've got on the screen. I've got Kate Blanchett and Kevin Hart. They are playing the characters from the games are on the other side of them. So you just get a kind of comparison of what they look like and how kind of gamification they're kind of going with it. But it is a weird kind of thing because like certain characters are more serious than others in Borderlands, but in the trailer, it seems like they've just decided to completely just makes them a little bit more comedic, and like
Yeah.
that's a difficult thing to do because as we've talked about, Guardians of the Galaxy has done that quite well, but it has its tone, it has its moments in which it's very serious, and
Hmm.
like it makes so much of a difference when we're talking about that kind of level of stuff because like
Oh, for sure.
we've got yeah, Kevin Hart, Catherine, which goes Kate Blanchett, which goes we've got a plethora of characters, which is Florin Mortu, who's going to play Clag, who's essentially just a psycho, and that's a not a derogatory term. It's a person or thing in the game, kind of thing.
Is that to do with the face mask? Yeah.
Yeah, essentially they're like a race of people, I guess, or like not a race of people. They're more just bad guys.
A clan. Yeah.
Yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis is in the film. Like, it's got such a weird kind of cast of like people. Um, like Jack Black is going to be playing Claptrap, the robot. Like, it's got such a weird kind of grouping. And then the one weird thing is there's a fan favorite character, um, which is Tiny Tina, and she's been played by Ariana Greenblatt.
This is the rabbit
Yeah,
ears.
she's like a fan favorite character. So like, I just have to say, like, they've really kind of they've taken two characters from the original game from Borderlands 1. They've then taken, I think, Clegg, who's like he's a character from a play character from one of the other ones. And then Tiny Tina as well, who is an NPC and also a player character later on. So it's kind of one of these things where it's just like they've really upped the ante. So they've taken the player characters, which I think everybody was fine with, but then they've chosen a fan favorite with Tiny Tina and gone, yeah, we'll put her in it. And it's just like there's a very particular style for that character in the game.
And was she an NPC? She was
She was
non-playable, or
she was an NPC for a while. And then I
okay,
think in
became
one of the DLCs you get to play her as like for a short period
right.
of time and stuff like that.
Well, okay. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If you'd walked into this room and said, "You know what? I want to talk about a movie that Eli Roth is directing that's going to have Jamie Lee Curtis, Kate Blanchett, and a cast of others in it," I'd be like, "I'm so intrigued. Tell me more." But having seen the trailer and knowing what I now know, and having you describe all this, I'm like, I'm still as confused as I ever was as to what this is going to turn out to be. Don't get me wrong, I hope they nail it, but they're going to have to do some serious character development work with what is it's a relatively large ensemble cast for people who aren't familiar with the game. They've also then got to tread that tightrope of people who are familiar with the game.
This is the thing. So plot wise, yeah, like the good thing with Guardians of the Galaxy was that it came from a comic book kind of series, and it came from a comic book era where they had multiple different versions of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So it was able to set its own tone. It was able to set its own place within the movie world.
Yeah.
Games are a little bit different because it essentially is one media, and it means that essentially that they're going to have to get the tone and kind of Easter egg and things right to keep their base audience happy, but then also allow other audience members or other demographics to join in the fun.
Yes.
And that's a
Which is a
really
tricky thing to pull off.
that's the thing, especially with this movie, like with this IP, because like the best way to describe it is Deadpool mixed with like what did I say? It was Deadpool mixed with like Avengers,
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
think that's yeah.
That's not what I
You had
said
a
at all.
you had Deadpool mixed with something, and I remember thinking, oh, I get that now, but now I can't remember exactly what you said.
Yeah,
Um,
Deadpool mixed with Firefly would be a good idea. There's a good
oof,
version of it. Its humor is very weird and all over the place, and it's very fun for the group who really enjoy it. But that's not for everybody, and I don't mean that Deadpool is like Deadpool's very popular right now, and it could be
yep,
that they're just trying to combine. Actually, that could be a thing. They're trying to combine two things. They're trying to combine Guardians of the Galaxy feeling with Deadpool humor and
that's going to be
capitalize
a
on.
tough one to pull off.
Like, yeah,
Just making me excited to go see it is probably not going to happen. Making me excited to talk about it because it's a curiosity, that's happening right now. Because Paul, when you compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy, you've already covered the fact that they both come from different areas but have preceding things and how that's different. Then there's also that ensemble cast that we touched on. The idea that you have to develop your characters. And if you fail, because Guardians of the Galaxy, it has been said on this channel many times before, I was the one that when they announced they were doing it, and it's like, oh, great. We just had a great run there where comic movies were starting to be taken seriously, and now they're going to do a tree and a raccoon, and it's just going to blow everything out of the water. I was that guy. I've
yeah,
I've openly said that. I went to see the movie and I come out and go, wow, they just did a magic trick in front of a dog. I was like, this is great. They pulled it off. They pulled it off so well. The tone, the taste, the texture, the color, the difference, the soundtrack. But they did manage to, in very short order, introduce their characters, give their characters some enough uh, depth and width, and then make the adventure that they were going on something that you could enjoy and follow along with. Is that going to be possible on something based on a video game that has such a dependence on the world? Like, do you think that they can pull off this kind of character development with the characters that they've chosen, since you have some familiarity with them?
I don't think so.
Oh shit.
I don't think so. I don't because the thing is that most of the characters are very flat because they're just vehicles for a
Yeah.
game. They're not vehicles for like I guess the biggest difference is movies are there to entertain, but they're meant to tell a story, and they're meant to kind of like we're meant to view it through the eyes of the characters and stuff like that, and see their development and their journey within the plot of the world and story and stuff like that. A game, it's like the majority the plot, the storyline is can be very thin to get you to the next place to fight.
Yes.
And I don't think that's unfair to say. I think that there's games out there that are very artistic and everything like that. Borderlands is very stylized and very fun, but I don't think the plot is going to win any. I don't think the plot is going to win any kind of awards. And like the thing is that they're going to be basing it on that plot, and they're going to have to grow it from that plot. And it's just like where you're going from. Oh yeah, so the main point of this entertainment kind of medium is essentially to have the player interact, like actually interact.
Mm.
Whereas you're viewing a movie and following along and kind of being brought with the thing. So like like it's character driven. It's a lot more like
Yeah. So, is their best chance of getting this right? Which I always wish the best on any movie because it takes an army to make it, and they're usually passionate people who aren't too cynical. The best chance, from what you've just said, is that they do the smart thing, and the smart thing is always ignore the source material when you should ignore the source material. Make a movie. You're not making a comic. I've said this 100 times. You're not writing a comic when you're making a the C in MCU is cinematic universe. You're making a movie. Go with the medium that you're doing it in. And I think the big fear that some people would have is, well, if you go too far away, the fans will hate you. The game fans will hate you. What you've just described, if that's the way the games kind of are, the best chance of winning over the fans is taking the good, making what you need to make this a fun, enjoyable movie for everybody, and the fans will come away going, They weren't faithful to the game, but they made a damn good, fun movie with a great story. And these characters, they're not the character I had in my head in the game, but they're a character that works on screen. Like that's cool. That's the way to do it. Do you think they did it that way? I don't know.
No, you're right. They have to take essentially if they can take the humor and the tone and the color palettes and you know they have the world and the Easter eggs all there. They have already semi thin kind of characters that they can fill out and stuff like that. I think that and if they ignore essentially the drawbacks of changing medium, which is probably the biggest issue with games going to movies, is the fact is that they pull too much with them, kind of thing, and not go, look, you're on a completely new medium. You have a license to do a little bit of a difference here. And I think that as long as you're faithful enough for the main fan base, you get a free pass. Like, like Claptrap's in it. As long as Claptrap is like Claptrap, I don't think anyone's going to complain about that character.
And
if
that's the Jack Black voiced kind of unicycle robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like very humorous, very funny and stuff like that. So if they get certain settings, certain characters in there and stuff like that, the Easter egg and stuff, I don't think people are going to be too, I don't think the fan base are going to be too enamored about, like, you've changed a little bit and stuff like that. Like, this character isn't like that, but they're now, I think there's a character who was male in the game and they've made now female in the movie. And as long as that is a choice for plot and character driven kind of storytelling, then I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with that. The second is that if they change that character fundamentally because they were just like, screw everybody, we're just going to, they don't respect the fan base and that character, then I can definitely understand why there's going to be problems. Like, because because Guardians of the Galaxy, they took all the characters that the Guardians of the Galaxy people loved, so the fan base that loved Guardians of the Galaxy, they took those characters and respected them and changed them enough so that they worked on film. Now, the medium for comics was probably a little bit easier, but they respected the characters, they respected everything there, and they did it themselves. They like set a whole tone for an entire, like, the Marvel universe now in space is 80s pop laser colored kind of like weirdness because of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. It's how Ragnarok became Ragnarok in a lot of ways, thanks to that kind of Guardians palette that it lent it. Paul, if I was to say learn one thing from Guardians to any movie that's going to do something like it, and let's face it, Borderlands is trying to do something like it. That was not their intention, but it is a fact. They've got to pull off the trick that Guardians pulled. And I already think they've failed without having seen the movie. Here's one of the reasons I think they may have failed. You cannot describe Guardians of the Galaxy as goofy. You can describe it as all sorts of things, but never goofy. Yep. It's the one thing you wouldn't say. Whereas a Jack Black voiced robot talking to a Kevin Hart, beret wearing kind of mercenary or whatever he is, it already lends itself to, this could be quite goofy in places. No matter how serious you get the rest of your tone at the right times, you could end up breaking the... I'm going to take Drax. Drax is the example in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
They had to hit the Drax tone perfectly.
Yeah.
And his kind of stoic meanness all came from sadness and losing, loss and all the rest. They kept that, but managed to make him funny through making him being a little bit dumb being a funny thing in places. So Paul, more of that when we come back. What do you say? Yeah,
I think so. I think we'll talk a little bit more about it, Guardians and Borderlands back in a second.
You obviously like two people talking about movies, or you wouldn't even be seeing this ad. Well, don't tell anyone. But Hear Us Out isn't the only choice. You should check out our friends over at It Takes Two podcast. It's a podcast where two people take two films with the same plot or premise, watch and discuss them. Films like Gremlins and Critters, or The Truman Show on EdTV. Lisa and Nick don't stop there though. They get creative and compare some unexpected movies. Some that you don't see the connection until you realise that they can be described in the same way. They launch new episodes every second Tuesday, or Monday if you're in New Zealand. Find them on your favorite podcast service or check the link in our description down below. That's It Takes Two Podcast. Tell them Hear Us Out sent you.
Hey, how's it going? We're back. That was It Takes Two. Yeah, so it's a bit of a difficult one because we've had some reviews, and people were saying it's okay. Now we've had fan reviews.
Can we mention our commenters, because our live commenters have been great so far? And one of the first comments from Brian was, I just looked at some reviews and oh boy. So a bit of an ouchie. He also mentions that Eli Roth seems an interesting choice for director. I think interesting choice is a great way of putting it.
That sounds like a contract thing. Please don't repeat the mistakes of Uncharted movie. That is the Uncharted game movie that had Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, which is confuse or make everybody younger.
Which Gavin, I'm sure you would agree with us, should have had Nathan Fillion in it and been made 5 years earlier at least.
Yeah, I guess Tank Girl. See, the problem with I get the Tank Girl reference is that it's a very quirky looking kind of like movie, which is, though with Tank Girl there's a little bit of charm with it, especially since it was made in the 90s, not 2024 kind of thing. So that's the only counterbalance to that. Also, we have a review of Tank Girl if you want to see it in our backlog.
Check it out. Go to our page. All the things.
But yeah, so like, because we were saying that like Guardians of the Galaxy can't be described as goofy. It can be described, there's goofy moments within the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of movies, but itself the movies cannot be called goofy. Because like the whole Among Us spacesuits moment in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is a goofy moment, but they get away with it because there's a lot more kind of, they've put the effort in, they put the work in to be able to go, yeah, we've had serious kind of funny kind of thing. Here's a goofy moment in our film, and then we move on. Whereas Borderlands, it just feels like it's going to be a goofy movie too much. I think we're going to have too many goofy moments. The whole thing is going to be kind of weirdly kind of put together. It's just a weird film. I know that I've kind of gone off the plot of just comparing it to. There's just a lot. Because now we're just complaining about the movie.
Paul, I'm here for it, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, because like, okay, so the reason I think that Borderlands is Guardians of the Galaxy is not going to be the only film that this is going to be put up against. It's not the only movie that it's going to be compared to. Obviously, it's going to be compared to every single game movie that's come out recently enough, kind of thing. But the reason I chose Guardians of the Galaxy is because it is the like for like. I could definitely see in another universe a twin film moment with Borderlands and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. Actually, well, yeah, think of it that way. If they both come out in the same weekend before we knew how good either one was, that's an interesting way of comparing them. Because then they would be compared head to head. You've got practically the exact same number of main characters. You've got the same, I'm not going to say the same aesthetic, but you do have the same similar vibrant turned up sense to it all. And it, like, unless I'm reading the movie very wrong, it is a heisty adventure, we're on a mission style thing where people have to become friends and understand each other.
Yeah. Pretty much why I chose the comparison kind of thing is that it definitely feels like a twin movie that's way too late. You know, that they were like, oh damn, we missed our moment, like, kind of thing, but we should still do it, right? You know, some real heavy fan of the movie was just like, but we're gonna do it, right? We've put all of this effort, right? You know, and someone went,
Somebody somewhere said, you know what, we spent 120 million, this thing's coming out. But no, what I would, honestly, I think somebody somewhere got Kate Blanchett to sign up against all of our expectations. Because you got to admit, she is a surprise signing. Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, Oscar success recently aside, you can imagine Jamie Lee Curtis signing up for something like this. And I love her. I want to be very clear. She's fucking awesome. And I've absolutely respect and love that woman for years.
She's up for it.
But to get Kate Blanchett to sign up, you're like, wow, what did you pitch her? Because straight away it makes me think, oh, this could be a really good movie. When I hear Kate Blanchett signed up for it, no matter what it is, I'm like, oh, this could be really good. Ooh, dude, I don't know if she can pull off a lot of magic. If she pulls this off, she'll go straight to the Mount Rushmore of actors of all time.
Like that's the thing, and I think that the tactical placement of the movie's release is also trying to take, like, a lot of people are going like, oh, it's going out to die.
Hmm.
I don't think it is. I think that some marketer out there was just like, we've got the same kind of like humor and stuff like that, like Deadpool and Wolverine. Why don't we put our movie out at near the, like, what would can be perceived as the tail end of the Deadpool Wolverine kind of moment, and maybe we can recapture some of that kind of, like, where people are just like, I'm in the mood for more Deadpool, but
Yeah.
there's no more Deadpool, so let's have a look at this movie Borderlands, which seems like it. And it's just like, you're going to disappoint people.
Look, we haven't seen it, so we don't know if it's good or bad. We don't. But the reason that we haven't seen it, and I'll speak for myself. I won't drag you under a bus with me here, Paul. But I didn't have an intention to see it in the cinema. I love going to the cinema, but I have to choose my opportunities very carefully, and I wasn't going to use one up on this. At no point has its marketing or anything about it, and that includes Kate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis. Like it includes all of these things, and like you rightly pointed out, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. What's putting me off this? Eli Roth, brave and interesting choice. Horror director extraordinaire doing this. I still can't find myself going, yeah, no, I'm definitely still going to go to the cinema and see it. Because the level of work they have to do to pull this off, I just don't know if I can feel it from the trailer that it's happening. You've called out what they need to do. They've got to go the Guardians of the Galaxy route. They can't have a goofy character. Yeah, you can have goofy scenes. You got to do your character development. You got to do all of these things. And I'm just not getting the feeling. I'm getting the feeling that money was spent, some great names were signed. It's been in development for a long time. Video game properties have started doing well because, I should point out to them, because they've been produced well.
Yeah.
Last of Us, etc., are good things. Good things do well. It's not video game properties do well. It's you started doing them well and you get the reward. So yeah, this could be trying to cash in on, hey, we've got some red and yellow bright posters to follow up from Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's see if people go into this one.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. And I think, it's an interesting point in the fact that, like, there's not a lot of things that have gone, like, recently enough. There's not a lot of items, not a lot of game development movies, game movies that have essentially gone for that long in development. That kind of thing. I think that this has kind of been a weird kick around the office kind of movie for a while, that it's got a few people signed up to it. It feels like it's the Tron 3 where it's been like, every now and again, and I hold dearly, because it's
Well, we're the people who defend Tron Legacy all the time because we both really liked it.
but it's more the fact is that every now and again we get a little nugget of, like, Tron 3 kind of thing, and we're just like, oh, it's definitely coming out, we're believers and stuff like that. That there was someone in the office of Borderlands doing that. They were just like, we got like Kate Blanchett, she signed up, and then people were like, Kate Blanchett, that's interesting, and it goes a couple of,
Hang on.
like,
She signed, so we legally have her for a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing this.
Yeah, kind of thing. And then it gets kicked down the bucket a little bit, or kicked down the road a little bit more, and then they're just like, we got Kevin Hart, and they're just like, Kevin Hart, oh, he's an upcoming comedian, like, which is moving into the movie kind of industry as well. It'll be a good sell, kind of thing. And it's just like, it just feels like it keeps getting moved and moved and moved, and the place that it is now is just so unsorted for it. It's like uncanny valley now of, like, when you look at it. Like, every time I look at it, I'm just like, there's something weird about this movie that just puts me off it. But yeah,
I'm open to being wrong, and I'm hoping that I am. And some of our commenters have pointed out something quite well here. Brian says, I've never heard of it until this video. And then Gavin follows up with, I think I saw more marketing for Madam Web than Borderlands. which is slightly unnerving. Well, that's unnerving in two ways, Gavin, and I completely agree. It does seem like this hasn't been promoted as heavily as you would expect for a movie of its cost and type and star. But also it's really unnerving that you had to see so many Madam Web promos, just because Madam Web. Yeesh. Yeah, what a travesty. But this could go down in that Madam Web category if the early reviews are to be believed, and their own box office projection I think is 15 million, which is terrible
Yeah.
for something of this size at this time of year. So actually, Brian just said maybe Kate Blanchett loves the game. I'd love if that was the case. I would absolutely love it.
It would make me more go, oh, maybe I will go watch it if it was a passion project. Like,
Yeah. And is it prejudice in me? Is this an unfounded thing that my brain discounts it? Because maybe she could be a big Borderlands fan. Like, for all I know, she's a gamer, and for all I know, this is the game that lit her fire. This might be her favorite title. I still doubt it in my heart of hearts somehow.
Yeah. So like, yes, you maybe become a hit on streaming is what Brian's saying. Yeah, but like, sorry, but who cares? Like, streaming hits are not like, they're not box office.
It's not the same.
Yeah, kind of thing. So anyway, yeah. So yeah,
I'll watch it on streaming for what it's worth. There you go. Get it to streaming good and fast, because I'm not going to go to the cinema.
I might go to the cinema. Maybe I'll go on Monday.
One of us should, and I nominate you.
Okay, cool, great. So yeah, so Borderlands is a game movie. We just think it's got an uphill battle from its origin source material to its comparisons with plenty of media that's already out there. It's going to be a struggle. There's something just unnerving about the whole thing when we actually have a look at the trailers and stuff like that. Like, yeah, the budget and stuff like that seems to be completely out of whack with this kind of level. It definitely feels like it's a perfect storm of a bunch of people coming together into a committee and going, let's build a movie. But in no way, if you are a gamer, should you not play the game. You should go check it out. The games are great. I just think
honestly, it's actually had the effect of making me want to go and check out the games. If I ever get time to game again, Borderlands is actually weirdly on my list now, because I've seen more game footage because of this movie, and I'm kind of into the aesthetic. Yeah, it's got its own unique vibe. Yeah,
the cell shading kind of vibe, which is really nice. Yeah, let us know down below what you think of like what do you think? What do you like? Did you see the movie? If you've seen the movie, let us know.
Well, let us know.
Like what you thought about it. But yeah, doesn't the whole kind of like coming out of nowhere kind of thing. I felt like no one asked for it. How do you feel about this movie coming out? And do you think that it's in no way going to compare to Guardians of the Galaxy? I shouldn't have. But yeah, comment down below. Don't forget that 80% of you are not subscribed.
That's it. The hat's on. The hat's on, everybody.
So
do it. You got to click the button now, please.
Yeah.
I want to take this hat off because the headphones don't fit right.
It means nothing. It can mean nothing to you. It can mean everything to us. So please do subscribe, like, ring the notification bell, all that do-do-dos. Patrick, do you have anything else to sign us off with?
No, just to say that I love you all. Anybody who's watching, you are now part of the family. Thank you so much. All joking aside about subscribing, get into the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts. And Paul, it's something that we're going to watch closely, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be surprised one way or the other, either positively or negatively, by this movie.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be. I think it's an interesting kind of. I guess
it's a curiosity.
Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting one. Anyway, so thanks for watching. I've been Paul.
I've been Patrick.
And we've been Here Is Out. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take it.